G'day there folks, I'm Beanie, you're watching Beanie Draws, and in this video I'm going to draw a Dilophosaurus head. I was thinking about how to do this because I kind of wanted to do the Jurassic Park version and the scientifically accurate version, but I think the best bet would be just to do them two separately in two different videos. So I think what I'll do is I'll start off with the Jurassic Park version, and then in another video, or I might edit this video to have both in separate parts, but basically we're going to draw Dilophosaurus heads, because I did have another one a while ago, but that was all time-lapsed. I don't think the original video actually had any commentary, I was just drawing it, so I'm going to try and teach you guys how to draw a Dilophosaurus from Jurassic Park head. The gist of the head is that it's kind of got a bit of a, how would I describe it? It's sort of a rectangular triangle shape. So kind of like so. I'd almost say it's actually kind of got the height. It's actually got a bit of a Tyrannosaurus and a Velociraptor vibe to it, actually. So I'm just going to draw in some shapes for the jaw. Gonna bring that jaw down like so. I don't always start with the jaw, but I have for this one, it seems. Then we'll do a line for the mouth, or the lip. So we'll draw the curved down, a curve down, and then up, a little bit like that. A little bit of a curve down slightly, and then up. I'm actually using some reference photos from Stan Winston Studios, so hopefully this will be a fairly realistic depiction. I'm going to be erasing bits and pieces where I think it needs to be fixed up a bit, but for the most part, we'll just go with it. I'm going to give it a bit of a curve for the nose, and I actually think already the lip could be possibly a little bit higher. So I'm going to refine this line a bit. It is quite a messy line, I will admit. But bring that up to there. Hopefully that's a bit tidier. And I'm going to try and do some scales, but I don't know how intense of detail I'm going to do. I'm going to tidy up that lip or chin. And it seems that it has a bit of a line there that goes up to the back of the jaw. Okay, so I'm going to refine that bit of line. Okay. It seems there's a hole shape here, which is where the ear hole would be, and then there's a bit of a shape, bit of a curved, angular, cubic-y shape like so. That probably makes no sense, but we'll just go with that. And then I'm going to put in a brief curve up here. That's going to be for the eye. Bit of a line here at an angle. That's going to be for the snout. We're going to put in a curved shape here for the snout indentation. Going to put in a curved line here for the brow ridge, or just the brow part, or the eye socket. These are loose lines at the moment because we're going to refine them down the track, but just some lines there. And I think we'll make the eye like so. I'm also checking my phone just randomly because I thought I had some weird messages, but nope. My phone is just being weird. Anyway. Now I'm going to refine this part of the eyebrow so it's a little bit more curved. And it seems to go down and then up. Yes, and same with this part. It seems that the sculpture of the maquette is slightly different from the concept art. That's generally how things are, I guess. Bring it up like so. Excuse me. I'm not editing this video, so all the coughs and splutters and mistakes I make will be kept in. I should actually quickly, this is going to be annoying for those of you watching, but I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible. I'm just going to actually open up my Dilophosaurus video and just judge by how I did that and see if I can make this drawing as close to that one as possible. Dilophosaurus Beanie draws. Just gonna type that in. I really should be editing all this. I should have had that ready. So sorry about that. There it is. I mainly want to use it for the screenshot, which you can't see any of this because it's on my screen and you're looking at paper, so this is entertaining right now. Alright, cool. Okay, now I can see what I'm working more with. Okay, so it looks like I did a sort of a profile view. I'm actually not going to put in the frill, so I'm sorry for those who wanted to see me drawing the frill. I'm going to do just the neck. So yeah, okay. Sorry for that part of the video, that would have been a bit bland and crap, but let's continue on, shall we? So, the crest, for Jurassic Park's version, the crest height is roughly about the same as the snout and the mouth. Also, if you really want me to draw, actually I might have just upload the non-time-lapsed version of the Dilophosaurus that I drew previously, even though it doesn't have any commentary on it, and just upload the slow version, you can just watch as I drew it, and maybe apply what I'm doing right now to that video. So, we've got a curved snout, and then a bit of a curved line, sharpish line here. I'm just readjusting my windows because I've got a lot of stuff going on. Okay. So about from this part of the eyebrow, I'm going to bring a line up to there. That would be for the spike behind the crest. Bring it to about the length of the back of the head. And then we'll draw a long sort of circular shape for the crest. So, like that. The beauty of dinosaurs is, they're all organic creatures, so if it doesn't look exactly like this, I don't even think mine's exactly correct. But as long as you get close enough to the shape, give it a bit of a, I guess you could almost call it like a bean shape. Oh, ha ha ha, bean. Yeah, okay, I'm not going to joke any further, that was lame. I hope none of that was cut out. Okay, now what we're going to do is draw some lines coming down for the crest. These are going to be refined later on. But just some curved lines. This gives it a bit of a disky shape. Now I'm going to refine this part, because one of the images I'm using looks like it's got a bit of a circular divider of some sort. So I'm just going to put some circular lines. Organic, doesn't have to be perfect. These lines I'm actually going to erase and make them a little bit straighter, because the maquette sculpture is a little bit different to the concept art, and it's a maquette sculpture that they more base the actual animatronic dinosaurs on. So I'm going to give it some lines like so, and the best bet for these kind of lines is, I'm just going to adjust the lighting a little bit so it's not so bright. This is what happens when you have an unedited video. Alright, there we go. So, I'm going to have the best way to do these kind of lines is to give it a bit of thick at the top, thinner at the bottom. Like that. And do that maybe a little bit randomly and organically. So like that. And then around here just going to make some wrinkles, because that kind of looks like how it's in the sculpture, just some like random shapes there. Not random shapes, random lines. I'm just going to make some of these lines a little bit more refined. And actually I really should focus on the paint job as well. I'm not going to color this in, I'm just going to possibly shade it. So hopefully that's kind of how it should look. I'm going to continue up around here. Seems to get a bit lighter up here. The crest texture bumps. They're possibly possibly vein shapes. Who knows what you technically would class these, but I'm just putting these lines like so. So just do them a bit randomly and organically. Hopefully that looks okay. I'm just kind of going by the reference photo that I'm looking at. So it looks like it has a bit of a shape around here. I'm also rendering right away, which I don't usually do, but for this crest, seems to be the best option. Now I'm just going to make that crest shape more defined. And I'm going to put in, I'll put in another shape, exactly more or less like that. Just to give a bit of a three-dimensional vibe. I might erase it later, I'm not too sure. Because I do like the profile view of this Dilophosaurus. So I'm just tidying up this line. Refining it. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of a shading at the bottom part. And shading around that part. Not shading it up here, just shading it at the bottom. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll put in a sort of a tear shape for the nostril. Color that in black. I'm going to give it 2 extra lines around here to give it a bit of the nostril, just folds, wrinkles, I don't know what you call these, but just put those lines in. Don't argue with me, just do it. And I'm going to refine a line up here, which will be for the nasal indentation. So it's a kind of a slightly curved, slightly angular vibe, and it comes down to here. So you got this line, and then that line. And then we've got this line that comes down to about there. And give it a line down here and up for a bit of the eye wrinkle. And hopefully I didn't mess up just then, because I'm actually a little bit tired, because I've already drawn one picture. I think I might have to save my other Dilophosaurus head drawing for later. I really want to draw it, but I'm a bit tired. Gonna draw that curve and draw in the eye and an eye pupil. I'm gonna have a sort of facing a little bit forward, so it looks like it's looking forward, like so. Now, what am I gonna do? To be honest, sorry folks, I think the eye is a little bit too low down, and I made some of these lines too heavy and dark, so I'm sorry if you've drawn it in that heavy and dark. If you want to say that this tutorial sucks now, go right ahead. Just gonna make that eye higher up, and maybe not as big. This is all about refining and, you know, adjusting things to make it look better. Gonna give it a little light shape there and a pupil. And I'm gonna do it like so. So that's a light circular line, just to give it a bit of, I don't even know if I keep that in there or not, but I'm keeping it like that for now. And then I'm gonna have some eye wrinkle lines. Bit of an eye wrinkle line there. Oh, that'd be the lower eyelid, I guess. Who knows? Do dinosaurs have eyelids at all? Who knows? Just refining some of these shapes, or these lines. That was me yawning like a Tyrannosaurus. Okay, it seems to be going okay. Just refining and making this line a bit darker. May have made it too dark, not too sure. Okay, now it seems that there's a bit of a line there. And I'm going to make that line a little bit darker. So darker there, and it gets lighter to about there, and then continue, it just lights in there. And yeah. Okay, what next? Actually, I think the lip comes out a little bit more. So the front lip comes out a little bit more like that, I think. Just erase it a little bit to make it look tidier. And to be honest, I'm going to raise that bit of crest, just to have like more of a profile view, not a three-dimensional view. Okay, just gonna render it up around here a little bit, just to give a bit of a more of a three-dimensional vibe. Make it darker along this bit of line. Darker along there. Now, I'm gonna, it seems that she, because I guess Dilophosaurus is meant to be, all the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park are meant to be female. So it looks like she's got a little bit more of a chin, like that. And then bring it out, like, yeah. That's the thing, sometimes, like, I'm just going to draw it, and you can follow along with what I'm drawing. But, I'm trying to make it as accurate to the movie as possible. And depending on the reference image, some of them are a little bit different. So, a little bit more of a pointy angle there. Bring that angle down to about there. And follow the curve of the jaw. So right now it looks really messy, so I'm just going to erase the lines that I don't need. And see if that looks a little bit better. Hopefully that's looking okay. Because it does look like that it has a bit of a chin. And actually I'm going to make that pupil a little smaller. Make it a little bit, look a little bit more lizard-like, I guess. Even though dinosaurs technically aren't lizards or birds or whatever. Okay, we've got the shape more or less done. Now I'm just going to put in some details of the scales. So I'm going to put some lip scales. This is where time-lapse would come in handy. Also really hoping I'm actually recording this. Yes, I am. Good. Would have been awkward if I was recording, if I wasn't recording and I drew all this. So we've got sort of narrow scales here. Then they get sort of short and long around here. Then around here they get bigger. So just sort of follow the lines and taper them out as needed. Also remembering that, you know, the scale's an organic thing, so they don't have to be perfect. I mean, if you want them to be perfect, go and try and make it perfect, but yeah. If it's not coming out how you would hope that looks, then don't worry too much. I'm just gonna make this a little bit darker. And then around here, just they get quite small and oval-like. So I'm just gonna put a whole bunch of little I'm doing this lightly, just randomly, just random circles and ovals. Do them lightly. Around here, they kind of got big-ish ovaled scales. And from the maquette that I'm looking at, they seem to be in rows of 2. Right down to about here, and there's like kind of a big sort of a circular scale, and there's some scales around there. And then around here they seem to go in a grid down there, and then they just kind of, around here they get just like, you know, like, okay, for example, here we'll do little tiny oval scales and follow the line, follow the contour of the line. So draw them in the direction of the skin fold. Maybe some of them are bigger here, but follow them to the skin fold. I'm gonna do some random ones here. And here, more or less the same, just like follow the contour of the shape. It seems to have some bigger scales along there. And from the looks of the image, it actually has a bit of a... Actually, it looks like it's kind of got a spiky scale thing going along here. So that was generally just a indication shape, and now we just get the refinement going. And I like in the movie how most of its eyes actually casted in shadow. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll cast it in shadow, so it's more like the movie. Actually, I think that's kind of cool. Actually, I'm just... Sometimes when I'm drawing these, I notice little shapes and lines that I didn't notice before, so I'm just adding little lines here and there. I notice a lot of extra details the more I just go into it. I'm like, oh, there's a line there, or oh, there's a darker patch here. So you can just follow along my noticing observations. So along here, there's some, very much like a T-Rex, some like hardish, bumpied scales, so like a bit of a ridge. I think I drew that in my original video. And along here, it seems to have some, again, very much like a Tyrannosaurus. Maybe they did the Tyrannosaurus scales very similar, or the Dilophosaurus. I wonder what came first when they were designing. Did they design the Dilophosaurus first, or did they design the T-Rex first? Who knows? Only those who worked at Stan Winston Studios would know, I'm guessing. Again, more extra little just detailed lines that I noticed that I'm putting in. Got an itchy nose. I'm going to put some scales here. Seems to be one curved one there. And around here, actually there seems to be a bit of a line, and some, maybe 3 or 4 larger scales. And then they kind of go up to about there. So the thing I like about, the thing I try to deliver to you guys with my videos is I'm trying to some things like these, I'm trying to get like almost, the more I observe these scales, I'm trying to get them almost as placement perfect as I can as well. I'm a little bit anal when it comes to detail of my creatures. I'm just gonna, it's getting a little bit dark I think, so I'm just gonna adjust the lighting. So yeah, like, the problem though is when I get these scales, like these ones are bigger, the more detail I see, the more tunnel visioned I get, which actually makes me get a little bit woozy. So I'm actually, the more I'm talking right now, the more I'm concentrating, the more lightheaded I'm actually feeling. So I'm just gonna, and of course the more lightheaded I get, the more difficult it is for me to explain what I'm doing. So that's why sometimes I'm just drawing it and you can kind of follow along. So around, okay, so I also find that I follow the scales along the lines of things. So like they're getting smaller here, and the lighter you press on your pencil means the more it kind of blends and kind of adds its own sort of shading. Now I'm going to do the cheating scaling that I have done in the past. So I'm just like, I just do a little, think of it like a spiral or a spring, a very long continuous spring. So just draw your little curl lines. I mean, this is my cheating way of doing a massive amount of scales in the shortest amount of time. And then sometimes I'll refine them. I'll add, like, maybe I'll add like some little circles in there just to make it look, you know, a little bit less cheating. So I'm gonna just fill out that space. I wasn't actually I didn't think I'd put this much detail into this actually, but looks like I have. Around here, got some of those little tiny scales. There's like maybe, I think, yeah, one sort of oblongy shaped scale there. It's like two sort of pimpled scales. I think there's like three kind of pimply scales. Like you'll sometimes notice that like there's like one or two little tiny little random scales that just kind of pop out more than the others, and that gives you the sort of more organic vibe. Along here we've got some scales. So they're kind of like long, narrow ones. Okay. Where we're going to do... Okay, we'll do some more here. More scales, scales, scales. These ones kind of go in a line. So notice how there's a bit of a grid thing going on here. That's one way of drawing the scales. That's one of the things I noticed in the older style of Stan Winston designs. And just like so. Sometimes when I'm drawing scales, it puts me into a bit of a trance. So I'm just refining little bits and pieces. And I'm actually now starting to think that this one looks a lot better than my other Dilophosaurus. I think there's some scales along here, some hard ridges. Almost a little bit like the Indominus Rex, I guess. Even though the Indominus Rex came a lot longer than came later into the story than Dilophosaurus. So yeah, all this talking and studying and looking at things is making my head a little lightheaded. Circled scales. I was going to call it curvular. That's not too bad. I'm not going to do it too perfectly. That'll do. And along this bottom part, I'll do it very similar to these ones. Along its nose, it has scales more this, so elongated vertically. And as you get them along here, they get smaller and smaller. Then there's some like big ones here. I apologize if this part's really boring. This is basically where you just kind of get into a trance and let it do its own thing. Gonna put some scales around the nostril. If you can even see that. Then some just like casual random scales there. Maybe some bigger scales here. I'm trying to annotate what I'm doing, but I'm basically just describing what you're watching, which is why in the past I've just time-lapsed this part, but I'm not doing that. Not for this one. Seems here there's a bit of a line and then shading, and then shading here. Going to add some more detail here because it needs to be a bit more blended, I think. And some dividing between these scales. There's a bit of a line there between the scales, like you get your sort of scale folds. I think that's more or less done for the top part of the mouth. I'm just gonna add some little details in here, light lines. Give it a little bit of shading there just to refine it a little bit. Gonna color it in there to make it look more indented. I think I said that right. And now what we'll do is put in some lower lip jaw scales along here. In the maquette it looks like it's more or less identical and mirrored to the top part. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mirror it. And along here it's going to be like, they're kind of going to be like long, not long, well yeah they will be sort of long, but think of it like a grid structure really. Along here not as gritty, a little bit gritty. These ones actually look to be a little bit longer. More rectangular actually. So you'll have like, you know, rectangular scales, then you have some like sort of semicircled scales. And then sort of, yeah. I'm just trying to think of the description for the scales, and yeah. There's only so much you can describe about scales till they get really boring to talk about. I mean, they're good to zone out to when drawing, but just describing them can be really dull and boring. Okay, while I'm just randomly drawing these scales in, as I've been describing, and without time-lapsing it, I'm just going to give you a lame joke which you probably already heard. Why did Adele cross the road? To say hello from the other side. Lame joke, I know. But I'm trying to make this part less boring. Although apparently some of you like the sound of my voice, so I could just randomly talk and some of you would love it apparently. So I'm just gonna, okay, right. Make the scales around here a little bit bigger. Then when they get to closer to the jaw lip line, they get narrower. Also, I may sorry. This video is going to go up on its own, but I'm going to eventually edit this video into another video that I'm going to be doing of a more scientifically accurate version. So that will, I'm going to do like probably 3 versions. This video on its own, that video on its own, and then another video of them combined together. That's going to be one long video, I'm pretty sure. See how that goes. That other video is going to be very sort of more me just creating than teaching. I mean, the foundation, like how it founded. I didn't found this. How I went about drawing this one. How I started the line work anyway. That's the teaching side. But then once you get to like, you know, drawing the scales, that's more or less just like creating. I can, though, say around here, you can probably tell the pressure is lighter than what they were around here. That's just to make it look more rendered. So around here they're light, and up around here they're a little bit darker lined. And that's a helicopter outside. Or is it a plane? I don't know. I'm going to render in a little bit of a muscle shape there. Going to render in a little bit more of the shading for the lip there. I don't know, can you sort of... sorry. Actually, I'm going to just refine around here because I can see more scales that I didn't put in. But can you kind of see how It's got a bit of a Velociraptor vibe to it. It definitely has a bit of a Velociraptor vibe to it, which is why I think like some of the, that's probably why there was so much inaccuracies in the dinosaurs, because they were more trying to just, I don't know, they're trying to get a look for the dinosaurs as opposed to getting it as accurate as possible. So they probably took some cues from the T-Rex, especially around here. They got cues from the T-Rex. Around here, the length, especially around here, and the length of the snout, they got cues from the Velociraptors. And then from around here, is basically their own version of the Dilophosaurus. So that's more or less done. What now I'm going to just do is put in a bit of the shape of the neck. I don't know, did I do that in the original video? No, I didn't. I covered it with the frill. So in this one, I'm not going to put it in a frill. I'm just going to have a bit of the neck come up like so. So curve it out, give a bit of a lump coming up and then down. And around here it's got some neck folds, which would, in the movie, be, technically, I guess, it would be the frill. Another interesting thing that I've noticed is that with the maquette, it looks like it's got a whole bunch of like scales like this, but in the frill, it has patterns like that. So I don't know, a little bit inconsistent sometimes. Not that it's a bad thing, you know. Just one of those things I had noticed in the textures of the dinosaurs. I'm not going to put in a huge amount of detail on this neck. Just going to put some lines for neck folds. Just going to really quickly put in some detail for the neck, for the scales. I think I did something like this for another dinosaur in a different video. So some neck folds. You know what, I'm just gonna put in the other kind of shape that I've seen. So it kind of goes down here. And that's about as much as you can see in this video, so I'm just gonna leave it there. And I'm not going to put in the pattern because I kind of like how it looks like. Or maybe, I don't know, if I put in a pattern, this is me being creative now. If I put in the pattern that's in the painted version, it could mess it up. Or it could make it look good. Do I run that risk? Do I run that risk? I don't know. Maybe I'll just put some loose shading of the pattern and hope I don't fudge it up. I'll put in light shading of what the color would be, because it has a lot of black in its head color. I don't really want to mess it up too much. I still want to be able to see our scales that we did. So if you're going to do this part, do it at your own caution. Don't blame me if you mess up your drawing because of putting in the black texture, black bit. I'm trying to do this very carefully without going too extreme. Then what I'm going to do is use my eraser and erase a thin, what would be the thin white line that kind of gives it the pattern in the Dilophosaurus. in Jurassic Park, because it's got a blackness in it, and then it's got like a white sort of divider line, I noticed. Then what I'll do is I'll just refine that divider line bit. I'm not going to go to extremes. Maybe I'll just make it a little bit darker on that part. I'm already hiding some of the detail that... I suppose it doesn't look too bad, actually. Just gonna... I'm doing it sort of a lot lighter than what it actually appears in the film. But just dark enough to indicate the pattern and the colour. So I'm just doing it very lightly. I wouldn't recommend you doing it to this point, because, it's a fine line between making it look good and going a little bit too far, and then you might get disappointed in your results. So do it at your own risk, like I said. But I'm trying to make it darker on this end of that white line, just to indicate that there was a bit of black there. Maybe make these bits a bit darker. And I'm just going to erase a little bit there to try and indicate that white line. Hopefully I didn't mess it up. I'm trying to go for a bit of a style here. Actually, I might refine some of these scales in the dark part. But I'm trying to give a visual sort of illusion to that pattern without going too extreme, as I've already mentioned. So hopefully that kind of works. It's a bit of a challenge even for me, so I'm not sure if it looks alright or not. I don't think it looks horrible. Just going to refine it a little bit there for that white pattern bit. Oh, shut up, phone. Why are you dying so quickly when I'm not even using you? Excuse me for a moment. I'm just going to plug my phone in so it stops interrupting us. Okay. Now shut up and charge. Okay. Now back to this. Sorry about that interruption. I would normally edit that out, but it's a lot quicker just drawing it and getting it out there. So, I think that's pretty much done, I think. I'm just going to add in some little random, like I did around here, I'm just adding a little bit of that for the neck. I'm not going, this is a bit of an impressionistic vibe now, but with pencil. Getting quite tired, so I'm just putting some shading in here just to make it look like the jaw is coming out from the neck. Some neck wrinkles. And, actually I'm just going to put in some little light lines to give the texture of the neck, the top part of the neck. Like how they did with the Tyrannosaurus. There was like lots of sort of lined wrinkle fold thingamajiggies. But I think that will probably do it. So I apologize I didn't put in the frill, but I thought I'd try something a little bit different. I'm just gonna make it a little bit darker in between the lips, and I'm adding a little bit of edge to these bits of scales just to bring them out a little bit more, for contrast and refinement. So hopefully that makes sense. What am I doing there? I don't know. This is where I have to be very careful and not put in too much detail. Okay, I'm just gonna... Actually, I'm just gonna refine some of these scales so we can see them. Because we put a bit of effort into those scales, I don't want to lose them. I won't sing anymore, don't worry. Just need something to break up the monotony of scale drawing. And I keep remembering that I have to somehow get these keys back to that guy. Don't know. Like I said, when you leave a car, make sure you got your keys and your wallet and your phone, so you don't end up having to figure out some way to contact your driver that you didn't get your contact details and match them with. Makes life difficult. But I think that will do. Let me know what you think of this video. I'm tired now. So much concentrating and drawing. But let me know what you think of this video. If you like it, give a thumbs up. If you dislike it, I guess you can give a thumbs down, but hopefully you don't dislike it. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this is an improvement on the last Dilophosaurus. Hopefully I didn't draw too fast. I know I tend to do that. But yeah, before I go any further, of course I'm just gonna, there. Okay, I should leave it there before I go too far and add too much into it. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you for watching, and yeah, I will see you in the next video. The next video will be me drawing a different Dilophosaurus, more based on the actual skull, because you'll see it in that video. It looks a bit different, and then I will see if I can splice that video into this video. If that all works hunky-dory, then yeah, look forward to seeing that part. That's also going to be its own video. But until then, thank you for watching this part of the video, and I will catch you next time. Cheerio for now.